Good afternoon. Hello, Jackie. Thank you so much for joining me this afternoon.
Hello there, and thank you for asking me.
My absolute pleasure. I imagine your life has changed quite a bit recently. And one of the things I really wanted to talk to you about is you've used this new platform brilliantly to talk about local government and engagement. So how's it all been for you over the past few months?
Well, as you say, it has been quite different. I guess when this first took off, my husband and I said, give it the weekend and we'll be back to normal. And then, like COVID, give it the week, it'll be back to normal. Now, I don't think this will last as long as COVID, but certainly, 2.5 months later, and I still have a wonderful opportunity to keep pushing something that's incredibly close to my heart, which is getting people involved in local democracy at whatever level.
Yeah. And how have you found it when you've been speaking to, what do you think the barriers have been to people being involved up till now? And can you see those changing?
Well, I think even in this short time, and I think it's timely, because of course we are coming up to elections, as you know. But I think still the biggest barrier has been lack of knowledge.
Right.
I'm still amazed at how many people don't understand the difference between 3 tiers or 2 tiers, depending on what area you live in, who's responsible for what, how you get involved. And I think that sometimes the whole thing has just seemed so complicated that people just simply have walked away from it. And I hope that what I've been doing over the last couple of months is trying to say it really isn't that complicated. It's about you being interested in local things, finding a way to deal with local issues, local opportunities even, and don't worry about the rest of the country.
Yeah, and I think that's a really powerful message that sometimes the things you do in local government probably impact the people in your community more than anything that Westminster does on a day-to-day basis. And I also find, and this may be a female thing, that women sometimes self-limit as well. They've almost got a bit of an imposter syndrome, and they kind of go, well, anything that's called councillor, that's not for the likes of me. And that's really frustrating, because they're the people who are the backbone of doing maybe PTAs or maybe litter picks or maybe some of that stuff, but they don't think it translates into representing people, and it really can, can't it?
I mean, you're absolutely right. I mean, I've spent a lot of time talking to political parties of all persuasions, in particular their younger constituents and also their female constituents who may or may not be younger. It gets quite complicated. And I guess that's something that's come up quite often around women. I think somebody expressed it very well to me. Well, it didn't come from me, it was something I heard, where they said one of the differences between men and women is that a man, when they see an opportunity, will go for it. A woman will wait to be invited. And I think that was quite an interesting point.
I think you're right. And the other one I heard that also struck home to me is if a woman sees a job description, whether it be in this area or any other area, and she can do 50% of it, she'll think, I can only do 50% of it. Where if a man sees a job description, I know we're grossly generalising, but sometimes these things have a kernel of truth, and can only do 50% of it, he'll go, well, I'm perfect for it. I can already do 50%. So there's got to be, because representation is getting better. And it's interesting you mentioned younger people, because I think that's an area where a lot of local government really struggles. And for me, and I don't know if you found this, some of the barriers are the sort of the mental ones about can I or should I, but there's also financial ones, because this is treated as an allowance, not as a salary. So if you're trying to get a mortgage or trying to do rental, you can't use that. And if you're young and you're in the process of building up a career or having a family, it's not always the most attractive thing to do. And they're exactly the people who we need to help make sure we're representative.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. I mean, as you'll know, there's a discussion taking place across the country at the moment about whether or not we're going to be able to retain virtual meetings.
Yes.
And that's something, again, that I've really been trying to push into the public eye, because I think, although it's not the solution, I think it is something that actually helps, so that if you are able to participate as a councillor virtually, it you can be so much more involved, and it takes up so less of your time. You know, it's a step. It's a step in the right direction.
Well, especially if you're in a rural constituency, if you've got a meeting that finishes at 10 o'clock at night and you've got an hour and a half, or you've missed the last bus home, that's very different from switching your PC off and going to get yourself a cup of tea. And it also makes it easier for members of the public as well. You know, on planning or licensing or any of the other stuff that's there, they can watch it live on YouTube, or they can dial in rather than having to go into some fusty village hall or guild hall or something.
Yeah, I think they're very important points. I mean, I think the other thing, of course, is that whether we think it's fair or not, women do tend to have more care responsibilities than men do. Not exclusively, but more. And again, you have the opportunity to have virtual meetings. It means that that's not such an issue.
Yeah.
But I think there's also a huge issue about making council meetings accessible to the public. Because even if you don't want to stand as a councillor, even if you don't want to actively participate, perhaps being part of a working group or something like that, you certainly have a role to play locally in bearing witness to what the council does.
Yeah,
that is useful.
Absolutely. So a sort of a scrutiny role, an input into policy development. I mean, one of the things, I'm only mayor for a year, and obviously this term has not been quite how we anticipated, but I was hoping to go into schools and do, because that's the other thing that strikes me, that to your very good first point about education and people not understanding, we don't really do a great deal about citizenship at a level where people could learn it as part of their normal education and understand why it is important and how to engage.
Again, you're absolutely spot on there. However, over the last 15 to 20 years, through the National Association of Local Councils at parish level, we've had a number of initiatives where we've tried to support local councillors, again, town parish level, to go into local schools and to talk about what they do. We, developed packs and things like that so that they could talk from an informed position. I mean, what I mean is try and get the same kind of message across the whole country, not just talking about an individual parish council. But I'm afraid they couldn't get past the front doors of many schools. And part of that, they said, was about having a very busy curriculum that they just couldn't make space. But that was disappointing.
Yeah, no, I mean, I've heard that. I mean, sometimes we've got rather, if you're down in Bath, I mean, it probably won't be me as mayor, but I'm sure you'd be very welcome to come. We've got a gorgeous parlour, and that used to be quite good for primary school children, because we'd got the robes that had made at their size, so they could dress up in them, and then they could see the history and see some of the really incredible artifacts that are there, and then it becomes part of something that someone associates with being something for them, not a kind of an other thing that isn't part of their daily life. So maybe we need to get them at primary level.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree. I think it is something that, if it's, it helps make politics, whether that's political politics or just, generally local government, something that is embedded more in our culture, really. Because I think it kind of feels that when we talk about politics, we automatically take a sort of mental shift into national politics. And I think, and again, it's a personal perspective, but it feels as if we've never been less able to influence national politics, which is why I think it makes local politics even more important, because we know you can influence local politics and you'll see the difference.
And what drove you to get involved in the way that you did, as opposed to standing for election? What are the things that make you feel so passionate about this?
I have stood as a councillor. I have been a councillor, but not for a long time. I started off as a councillor some 25 years ago in a small parish council, and in the area that I was in, I guess I didn't feel, for me, there wasn't sufficient challenge. A very small area and limited limited things that you could do there. Very important role in case of representation. So the council, don't get me wrong, the council itself had huge value, but for me as a councillor, I didn't feel there was enough for me to do. I suppose that's what I'm saying. So through being a councillor, I got involved with the organisation that I'm currently with, which is the Association of Local Councils in Cheshire. There's one in every Shire county. And what I was able to do there in time was actually to be kind of like a problem solver for those councils. So, you know, when they came up against a problem that they didn't know how to resolve, if they didn't know what the latest legislation was, etc., if they needed training, advice, all those kind of things, we were there. We were also there as an interface between the parish councils as a body, and originally the county and district councils, but later it became unitary authority. So I guess for me, I prefer that more technical aspect of the job, usually in the background. I mean, I've been here for over 25 years, nobody's noticed me before, not outside Cheshire anyway. So yeah, that's the thing that I enjoy. But I am hugely grateful for all the people who do feel passionate about standing as councillors, because without you, no need for me.
That's nicely put, and you have to. I think everyone, in their heart of hearts, chooses to do things that they find fun and fulfilling. And if your personality is suited to doing one set of roles, that's the perfect way to make the best use of what you've been given. I can't leave. I promise you, I'm not going to make any of the jokes that I'm sure you must have again and again and again. I promised myself I wouldn't let myself down, and I'm not going to do it. But how has it suddenly from doing your job really well and being acknowledged as a good professional leader within it to having this kind of media role? How's it been?
Busy. In fact, I've just before I started to speak to you, I was talking with ITV about our local elections,
Right.
just promoting them, just encouraging people to get out there and vote. Don't care which party you vote for, just get out there and vote. So that's the kind of thing that I've been involved with, and I guess again it's a kind of two-track thing. Without doing the media things that have been quite fun, don't get me wrong. I mean, things like what have I done? Loose Women, The Last Leg, things like that.
Yeah.
That attention, I don't get the other attention. So I'm quite happy to have some fun with anybody who wants to play. As long as I get the opportunity at some point during that to push the message that I started with 2.5 months ago, which is really get involved in local government and make a change.
And what a powerful message. I feel even more honoured that we got slotted in immediately after ITV. And I can't thank you enough, because I think and we don't have local elections in this round, but we do have our mayoral elections and our police and crime commissioner elections. And again, I don't want to bang on as if I'm being overly feminist, but especially if you're female, women died not that long ago for our right to vote. It's criminal not to use it. And that to me is also engagement. Even if you don't want to stand or you don't want to do anything, at least flex your franchise, because then you are showing that it matters to you.
I mean, I think that's such an important point, because you're not voting actually gets used against you, if that makes sense. So even if you're voting for someone that isn't going to get elected for political reasons, it's still worth casting that vote, because it's hugely important that we show that we are engaged with this.
Yes, I couldn't agree more, and that's a wonderful place to leave this on. Jackie, thank you so much for your time. I've really enjoyed it. I hope you have.
I have too. Thank you very much.
My pleasure.
Bye-bye.
Bye.